Even though one can expect some brutality and gruesomeness in a comic book, I didn't see any of these coming. The Immortal Hulk, issue number 8, written by Al Ewing with additional work from Ray Jose, Paul Mounts, Joe Bennett, and Corey Petit, was a doozy of a time. The entire storyline is not for anybody with a weak stomach, but this particular comic takes things to a whole other level. As evidenced by the series title, Hulk has become immortal, and in this issue, Dr. Clive vivisects Hulk and places his body parts into various jars to determine how his immortality functions. He makes an intriguing discovery by noting how Hulk's appendages will find each other when separated, allowing him to become whole again. Well, in a terrifying moment, Hulk reveals he's simply just hanging out through all of this, and with no effort at all, he breaks the jars. Sadly for Dr. Clive, the jars are spread out around the room with the Doctor in the middle. Hulk's body rebuilds itself around Dr. Clive, consuming him in a horrific display of body horror. Seeing somebody absorbed by Hulk's organs and bones is absolutely terrifying and disgusting, and Immortal Hulk capitalizes on plenty of these shocking sequences. There are numerous other body horror moments, like Hulk crawling out of Bruce Banner's mouth. Heck, in another issue, Hulk has to fight Rick Jones, his friend whom readers thought had previously died but was resurrected as an unholy abomination, pleading "kill me." Like, there's just so much, and it was just no words. In the Spider-Man the Other storyline, Morlun plagues Spider-Man by sudden and mysterious appearances, warning him that "I'm gonna finish you." You know how villains are. They're like, "We're gonna give you all this." Well, Spider-Man, for a reason not explained by science, was dying, and Morlun wanted to watch the causes and effects of his ailment. And we get this big battle. Morlun, kinda does a number on Spider-Man and rips out one of his eyeballs and eats it. And then he, leaves when the police arrive. He's like, let's try this another time. We're gonna leave you on the verge of death. But just like ripping his eye out and eating it? No, Professor X has long been the guiding light of the X-Men, even though his morality can best be described as conditional. Look, Xavier is the reason the team exists. So despite his many shortcomings as a person, everybody respects him. Well, the beginning of the Krakoa era was an extremely important time for this character. Xavier had created a mutant haven like no other, and his position as the leader of the nation kinda made him seem untouchable. Even with the Krakoan resurrection, nobody expected that Professor X would be among the first major casualties on the island. But that's what happened in the first issue of X-Force, Volume 6. Xeno, an anti-mutant group, attacked Krakoa and they killed Xavier, among many others. And this was actually a massive problem, because Professor Xavier was the one whose telepathic power placed the memory backups in mutant bodies for resurrection. Nobody was sure if anybody else could do it, but Jean Grey decided that she would try, and thankfully she succeeded. And Professor X wasn't an angel in this era, nor in the years leading up to it, but nobody expected in universe or among the readers that he would experience death so quickly in this new era. Like, my jaw hit the floor. Red Skull used the powers of a woman named Kobek, a sentient cosmic cube, to replace Captain America's memories with a version of his life where he was always secretly loyal to Hydra. So this led to the whole secret empire, where Cap helps Hydra take control of the United States. While working within S.H.I.E.L.D., he orchestrated a sudden Hydra takeover of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the whole, States of America. As the supreme leader of Hydra, he and the Hydra High Council attempted to use the Cosmic Cube to rewrite reality and history back to the Hydra reality. Now, this act was particularly heinous because it wasn't just a move against Captain America, it was a move against everybody who viewed the hero as a symbol of hope, including a lot of outraged fans in real life. Even when Cap eventually returned to his usual America-loving self, the damage to his reputation was done. I remember when this hit the comics. This was kind of before I really got invested in comics and heroes, and everybody and their mother was frothing at the mouth because it was bad. Nobody saw it, nobody wanted it, I think a lot of people hated it. The removal of Wolverine's adamantium and the revelation of his bone claws all transpired in the 1993 crossover event Fatal Attractions. Drawn by a number of artists such as Adam and Andy Kubert, the storyline saw Magneto, who had at the time been an ally of the X-Men for years, return to maniacal villainy. And rather fittingly, this return to the old status quo also marked the 30th anniversary of the X-Men franchise as a whole. So, Wolverine, easily the most popular X-Man. He's pretty recognizable by his set of adamantium claws, kapow! Unbreakable and utterly dangerous, the metal weapons are a reflection of Wolverine's own personality. And for the longest time, the true nature of these claws were unknown. They were believed to be unrelated to Wolverine's mutant powers. But a fateful encounter with the once again villainous Magneto finally revealed the truth about these claws, albeit at the expense of their stainless metal finish. So Xavier's in this fight, he's wearing this crazy exoskeleton, and he's forced to take the fight to Magneto on Avalon. Magneto keeps his opponents at bay, including Quicksilver, but Wolverine manages to get the drop on him. So Wolverine tries to stop the master of magnetism once and for all, almost lethally slicing his torso, and enraged and clearly uninterested in the song and dance, Magneto does even worse by Wolverine, liquefying the adamantium on his skeleton and ripping it out of his body. This overloads even Wolverine's incredible healing factor, leaving the mutant near death. It's only in the succeeding issue, where Wolverine pops his claws again in pain, that it's shown that they were always in fact bone claws, which adamantium had been bonded to. So with Magneto having removed the adamantium from his skeleton, Wolverine would become wilder than ever, transforming into a vile animalistic caricature of what he once was. Wolverine's heroic heart would test its mettle after his bones were stripped of theirs. Ouchie. When Moon Knight gained the full power of the Phoenix Force in Avengers issue 36, readers were absolutely shocked that the Phoenix Force had chosen such a turbulent character as its new host. Now, it has been well documented at this point that Moon Knight struggles to have control over his own actions, and his possession of the Phoenix Force could spell certain doom for Earth's mightiest heroes. Well, miraculously, in the next issue, Moon Knight saw how dangerous the Phoenix Force could be in anybody's hands, much less his own, and forcibly separated himself from it. So the Phoenix Force has had dozens of hosts before, but none have ever been able to tear themselves from it and its influence like Moon Knight. So while his acquisition of it was shocking enough, his clarity and decision to get rid of all of it on his own was something nobody saw coming. So it is said of many iconic villains that their evil knows no bounds, but this is especially true of Dr. Doom, who did the unthinkable after rejection by one of his former Latvian lovers. So whereas most of his plotting is to take over the world and rule it as a ruthless tyrant, Doom's most heinous acts are when he shows his utter disregard for humanity on a personal level. He has struck terrible and unforgivable blows against his foes, causing the death of the Thing at the hands of Reed Richards, sending Richards and his son to hell, and causing the Human Torch to stay permanently ignited. Even so, it is what he did to the one woman who loved him that makes him truly terrible. So Valeria had grown up with Victor Von Doom. They dated when they were younger, and even though he weathered the first breakup just fine, largely because it was his choice to leave her behind when he went to study in the States, he didn't handle everything afterwards really well. After rescuing her from the clutches of another villain, Diablo, years later, her rejection of the man he had become was, brutal. So he kept her confined. He attempted to change her mind with displays of his power as a ruler, which shows how his own endless ambitions are his love language. So when this show of force brought him into conflict with the Hulk, it gave her a chance to flee to Georgia, where she was certain Victor would leave her alone. Well, like the familiar script, and because he's a bad guy, he shows up once again, this time without armor or the trappings of his supervillain persona. He's like, no, I'm giving it all up. Love me. Well, it's Doom. There's no happy ending. Instead, oh boy, folks, brace yourself. So as a man who wields both science and the sorcery, Victor leans heavily into the occult. He made a deal with the Nether Demons to exchange something irreplaceable for his ascending into, being a powerful sorcerer. This stems from Doom's belief that he missed his chance at even greater magic. Sacrificing Valeria's love manifests in the most grisly way. He kills the woman and strips her of her skin to make a magical suit of armor from her flesh. Look, I think even Thanos in the MCU might have given a second thought to sacrificing Gamora if he had to wear her skin after. Well, that's all for today, folks. I've been Alexa. See ya!